Welcome to Backyard Oasis, a podcast designed by and for older adults living in the beautiful Pioneer Valley of Western Massachusetts and produced in the tech studios at Greenfield Community College in Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Denise Schwartz, your host. Go for a walk, they tell us. Older adults should keep moving, they say. Motion is the lotion. And so we walk. For 20 minutes, for a few miles, a half marathon maybe more. But not many older adults walk for 6 weeks at a time. Beth Berry did. She followed in the footsteps of the hundreds of thousands of people who have walked the 500-mile El Camino de Santiago for the last 1,200 years. And Beth walked it not once, but 3 times. In this episode, she'll talk about her Camino journeys, how they impacted her physically, mentally, and spiritually, and why she wants to walk the path one more time, and why you might consider walking the path or part of it too. But first, a little more about the Camino de Santiago, or the Way of St. James. It's a network of pilgrims' ways or pilgrimages leading to the shrine of the Apostle James in the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela in northwestern Spain. Pilgrims, or walkers, of all beliefs follow its roots as a form of spiritual path or retreat for their spiritual or personal growth, or for many other reasons. Created and established in the beginning of the 9th century, it became a major pilgrimage route from the 10th century onwards, and since 2013, the Camino, which encompasses several routes in Spain, France, and Portugal, has attracted more than 200,000 pilgrims each year. And now about my guest, Beth Berry. As listeners may know, I usually offer a short bio of my podcast guests, but Beth gave me such a different kind of bio that I thought it best to let her tell you about herself. So, hello, Beth.
Hello, Denise. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, you're welcome. Are you ready to talk about you so people can find out who you are?
Well, sure. I'll do that. I grew up in the Air Force, and it's a different kind of experience. We moved every 1, 2, or 3 years, and so I got to get a lot of skills, like the beginning of relationship skills, where I could meet people and, learn a whole classrooms full of names. But I didn't get very many staying skills.
Oh.
Anyways, even after I left my family, I have continued to move. And then I landed here in the Pioneer Valley about 40-some years ago. And it's not lost to me that I have decided to settle down where everybody else leaves, right? I worked at the
Right.
University of Massachusetts, and people come and people go. So that kind of meets my need for those short-term abandonment, all
boy.
those things. Anyways, I have done a lot of traveling in my life, with my family and then as an adult. And it brings me to where I am today, where I do a lot of traveling.
And that is Amherst.
And I live in the Amherst area and have since 1983.
Oh, we don't even want to go way back, Beth, because then people will know.
Right, they'll remember.
They'll remember. So that's great. So glad you're here. Now, I have to say, I do know you as a dancer, somebody from the dance community here. And so when I learned that you had done, I know you do a lot of traveling with your partner, Steve, but I didn't know that you had walked this fabulous walk that human beings have walked for so many years. And you've done it 3 times. So let's just start with that now, okay?
Sure.
So why did you decide to walk the Camino? And maybe before you say that, maybe just say that I know you did 3 different walks. Tell us briefly what they are, and then why.
Okay. So there is the Camino de Française, which means it starts in France. Mm-hmm. And the particular one I did, we started just right on the French side of the Pyrenees. And you walk over the Pyrenees. At the other side, you're in Spain. And then you walk across the top of Spain. That walk is about 500 miles. And as we'll hear, twice only walked 400 of those 500 miles.
Oh, Beth, a failure. No. 400, I can't even imagine.
And then also, Steve and I did I've done the Camino Frances twice, and Steve and I did what's called the Camino Portuguese, and you can start in Lisbon. We started in Porto, Portugal, and we walked, I believe that's about 150 miles. It was a 2-week walk that we walked up to Santiago. And as you just said, you end in Santiago, you end at the cathedral, and it is a pilgrimage.
We'll hear more about that later, right?
Sure.
Yes, okay. So let's find out why. Why did you want to do this?
I can't remember. I think had heard the words before, and I think it was around 2010 or something when Martin Sheen was in a movie directed by his son called The Way. And, I don't want to give it away, but Martin Sheen ends up walking the Camino. And I just thought, well, that's interesting. And he gets what we call a Camino family. He kind of accumulates some people around him for the walk. And I just was fascinated by it. Somewhere maybe around 2017, a friend said she had thought of it too, and so she and I started talking about it. Some of my friends were doing it, and they allowed her to become friends with them on the social media so that she could watch their Camino. And so we started talking about it, and we didn't do it until 2023. There were there was COVID, of course, but there were all kinds of reasons. My hip hurts, my knee hurts, my foot hurts. Yeah. And finally, maybe around 2022, I was 69, she was maybe 62 or 63. I said, you know what? It's not going to get better.
You're right.
So we might as well go, and see how it goes with a hurting hip or a hurting foot.
That makes a lot of sense. So then you decided right then. How did you plan for it?
Well, Karen's the planner, and so she did a lot of the planning. She did a lot of the research, and I think it was in September, we started planning. We started meeting every week, and I had like 10 more vacations before that. So
sorry to hear about that, Beth.
I know, but I really couldn't focus on it. It was too far away for me. But she would do the stuff, and I would meet with her on video conference calls, and we would talk about it. And she would tell me about the research, and then we just started making the decisions that you have to make.
Like what? What are they? Like, how do you know where to go and where to stop? And
one of the biggest, so where to start is a big decision. A friend of mine had started in Pamplona, I'd just seen, and I said, why don't we start in Pamplona? And she goes, no, we have to start in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. And I'm like, that's on the other side of the Pyrenees.
Yeah,
that sounded
in France.
Pretty intimidating to me. She goes, yeah, but that's where you start. I said, well, whatever. Okay. So we did. So that's a big thing. To go all the way across the Pyrenees is only 19 kilometers, but it's a very, very long day. And the going down part is probably harder than the going up part.
That's typical of a walk, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so there are only 2 places to stay on the way, on the top of the hill or, on the way. And they're only about 8 kilometers in, I think. And they get filled very quickly. So... And they don't open, they're also closed because they're in the Pyrenees. They're closed for the winter season because of the weather. So they don't open until mid-May, and you can't reserve them until 3 months earlier or something, like maybe 5 months. I think in like the day that the reservations opened, we were there, and we got reservations for this small place. It only has room for 14 people.
So wait a minute. So you make the reservations in advance, or you walk up to the place and say, do you have a room?
No,
No.
There's only 14 beds.
Wow.
If you're going to stay there, you have a reservation.
Reservation.
You don't walk up to that one.
So you have to figure that all out way in advance, where you're going to stay. So then you have to know how long you're going to walk.
Well, I mean, for the first night, are you going to walk 8 kilometers? And it's so very interesting because the people that don't get those rooms at the top, if they can't make it, you know what they can do? They can actually take a cab back to the town.
Sure.
And then have the cab bring them to their starting place and just continue.
Keep it.
There are no rules. There are no, lifeguards. There are no guards measuring these things. There is a way to know that you've done it, and that is what's called a Camino passport. Mm-hmm. And so all the places along the Camino have stamps. And so if I tell you I've walked from Saint Jean-Pied-de-Port and say that I've walked these 500 miles in between, I have stamps from Saint Jean-Pied-de-Port. I have stamps from that place that's at the top of the Pyrenees. And then I have stamps from below. I have stamps probably 2 or 3 a day along the way. I have stamps where I stay. To get a certificate saying you've walked the Camino, you actually only have to walk the last 100 kilometers, which is from Sarria. And so there are a lot more people for those last 100 kilometers. You have to have 2 stamps a day. And, there's different rules about getting your certificate there. And they do check those things.
Wait, who's they?
They, the people that have the certificates, if you want a certificate, if that's what's important to you.
Is it?
I got them. I got them each time. Getting the stamps is fun. There's places where, they have really clever, creative, colorful stamps. You hear about, this, or you go here to get a stamp and they'll give you
cookies.
Something to eat or,
okay, that sounds great.
It's worth it.
Tell us about the first day. Describe your first day.
The first day is pretty interesting. So you put on your backpack and you start walking, and you're in this little town called Saint Jean-Pied-de-Port, a French town on the French side of the Pyrenees. And you start walking. It's so interesting because it's uphill. I didn't really notice it that much. It's not like you're climbing. You're not climbing a mountain. You're walking. You're walking down a street first, then you walk through the gates of the city, and then you're walking up a hill and around. It's kind of a little neighborhood. Then you're in woods. There's horses sometimes. Wow. It's just whatever. And then I don't know. The next thing I knew, well, let me go back. It was raining that day.
Oh, dear.
It started raining that day. And so we were like, this is kind of hard, just raining and stuff. And so we stopped and we took a break. And we sat, we probably ate something. And we got up and we're willing to go on. And we go right around the corner, and there's the first place to stop.
Wow, you were already there.
Yeah, there are the only 2 places to stay. The first place is bigger, it has a lot more rooms, and it also has food. And so we stopped and ate. It was fun. There's a beautiful deck with beautiful views, but it was raining, so we didn't go out there. We didn't see it. And, we saw it, but we didn't get to admire that and have that fun. And then the place where we were staying is just like a kilometer down the road.
So you kept going, and that was the first day.
That was the first day.
Did that give you a sense that, this is going to be easy, or did you feel like, wow, this is just great? What was your feeling at that point?
The feeling the first day was, okay, we did that. We only walked 8 kilometers.
Okay.
That's not even, I'm not that good with the math, but it's not even 5 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, people can do that.
We do that around here.
Sure.
Just,
sure.
for going for a hike.
So it's not, and we're like, that's doable. And then there are these 14 people, and you're all eating dinner together. The host is, his French name is Laurent. His Spanish name is Lorenzo, and you can call him either. And he is just so sweet, and he makes a delicious meal. Everybody's talking, everybody's exciting. It's so cool. Then you wake up in the morning, and it's beautiful, and you realize, wow, look down into that valley. I am up in the mountains. And I just hadn't had the sense of that. That second day, you're walking and you can see you're in mountains. You're at the top of mountains and you're looking back at mountains and you're looking forward and to the side. And it's so beautiful. There's cows. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said cows. There are sheep. There are horses.
Oh, wait, let me erase the picture of the cows because I really like cows. Okay, so sheep, horses.
Yeah, there were sheep, there were horses, and there are also, what do I want to call them? Crosses where people have died.
Oh.
This is, people get stuck in the weather up there. It's the Pyrenees. People have, whatever they were going to have at home, maybe a heart attack or something. So people die along the ways. That's pretty sobering.
That would
when
be,
you see
yeah,
that.
especially on day 2.
Yes. Yes, it's true.
Oh my gosh.
It's so beautiful. But then let me just say about the end of day 2, again, it's only 19 kilometers total. But the end of day 2, they tell you, right is life, left is death. And we're like, what do you mean? That sounds really scary.
Yeah.
And there's this place that's, if you go to the right, you follow a road down to the next town. If you go to the left, you go through the woods, and it's a slippery, muddy place, and it's pretty bad. Anyways, the first time we went the correct way.
What do you mean? What do you mean the first time?
The first time, Karen must have recognized it. Whatever. We ended up going the right way, and we didn't have a problem. We were tired by the end of that day because then we'd walked 11 kilometers, and it was a bigger deal. It was harder. This time when I went, I was walking by myself, and I went the wrong way. Some people that I knew followed me. And I actually fell there when nobody was around, and I just, laid around for a while and then got myself up. And
picked yourself up and kept going.
Did
you turn around?
I was on a slippery rock. No, you don't turn around.
You went, kept down.
I just kept going. It's weird. You're in the middle of the woods.
That's what you're going to do. So that was your third walk, the one when you were alone?
That was my third walk.
I want to talk about that in a minute. So as you finished your first week, did you have any different insights? I mean, was it like, okay, I really thought this was going to be harder. No, I thought it was going to be easier. Oh, I'm not sure. Why did I do this? What was that like as you went on? Because you were there for 3 weeks practically. No, 6 weeks.
I was there for 6 weeks. Okay. So for me, I was like, oh, I'm surprised I can do this. There were certain things. I did get a blister. I did have...
One? I mean, I get that with a walk in the woods,
Yeah, I think I only had basically 1 or 2. But the thing is, well, they have a way to take care of blisters, and so that helped. I also got what's called a hiker's rash, and, lots of people helped me with that and talked to me about it. I was just surprised that I could do it, that it was doable every day. We were tired at the end of the day, but again, you eat usually with big groups, and it's fun and exciting. So one thing they say, people who've walked the Camino say, is that the first 2 weeks are a physical challenge, right? You're like, can I really walk basically 10 miles a day? The second 2 weeks, they call it a mental challenge because you are walking through what they call the meseta, the plain, the high plains, and it's not flat, but it's not mountains, and it's kind of, I don't want to use the word boring, but it's kind of what I consider like the Kansas and the Midland,
Midwest,
right?
Yes, okay.
And so it's just flatter, big sky kind of country, and that's when you start saying, why am I doing this? What was I thinking? All that stuff as you're walking day after day.
What did your brain? Oh, go ahead.
And then I'll just say, they say that the last third, the last 2 weeks, is a spiritual challenge. And
do you want to talk about that?
I can talk about my experience. I would have loved to have a spiritual awakening or something at this, but I just kept walking every day. What was a spiritual kind of wake-up call for me was the very last week. We knew we were near Santiago. We knew we were near the Santiago airport. We'd been walking for 5 weeks already. We had a little Camino family. We were all walking together. And we saw an airplane take off. And it just was like, I can't explain it. It was like a punch in the gut to me. I was, after just your whole life being walking, all of a sudden there was this whole other world where people flew. We'd seen cars. You're walking on roads a lot of the times. We're in cities.
Sure.
But it was like a whole different world out there where people fly and people do things like that. So, anyways, that was what people are like, did you have a spiritual experience? Yeah, I saw an airplane and it was like a punch in the gut. But that was mine.
I think I really understand that. I think traveling almost anywhere is like that. When you finish your journey, you realize, well, there's another life out there. There's another world out there. And now I have to enter that.
Right.
Wow. Okay, so was it difficult the whole 6 weeks? Where were the difficulties? Not the blisters, not the time when it was like, okay, I'm in the meseta and it's kind of like repetitive. Was it really difficult? Did other people find difficulties? Did you have to deal with some of what you call your family that you gather around you while you're walking? Did you have to deal with their difficulties?
Well, yes, we had all of that. So interestingly, I turned 70 on that Camino.
Oh, good.
Karen was 63, and these two guys that we met, we had seen them as we walked out of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port.
Oh, right in the beginning.
They were stopped on the corner.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
we saw them. We said hi. We kept moving. One of them, I think he was 53, and the other one was 23.
Wow.
These two guys. and then about almost halfway through, we started walking with them every day. And yeah, are there difficulties? The 23-year-old had to go home for a funeral in the middle of everything.
Oh, my gosh.
And the reason the 53-year-old was there, it was like his 4th Camino, I think, and he had a stroke on the previous one.
Oh, my gosh.
And so that's kind of why the 23-year-old was with him, just to make sure, or, to have somebody with him. And, you go through things. We started walking with these guys. The 53-year-old walked very slowly, and that was just my cup of tea. And then Karen, who was always, come on, Beth, let's go. And I was like, I want to walk more slowly. She's like, well, why are you always walking with him? You walked with me. And we had to deal with that, this
Sure.
personality things, just like any traveling companions. And there were all the things about life. It's just
in
on
one
your
little
feet.
place. Yeah, right.
Yes.
One little trail, one path. You're all on the same one, but the same stuff that happens in your everyday life at home happens.
Exactly. Where are we going to eat tonight?
Yeah.
Being one of them. All those things.
Right.
And then deciding as a group.
So you did this 3 times, and one time you walked by yourself.
Mostly.
Tell us about that.
Okay. So the first time I went with Karen, we met Steve and Adam halfway through. We walked with them. The second time I went with my partner Steve. We walked from Porto. We walked for 2 weeks. There was another couple that we were walking with, and that worked out fine. The second time I went back with a friend and a friend that I didn't know that well, and they ended up. Well, first of all, I wanted to start out by myself. They did not want to do the Pyrenees.
Oh.
And I wanted to do the Pyrenees, and I wanted to spend some time by myself. So I walked over the Pyrenees by myself that time. And I'll tell you, that was the best feeling I've had on any Camino. I had my own rhythm. I had my own stride. I just felt so comfortable and happy. And by the end of the second night, I met them at the place, and we went. And we, there were 3 of us. They weren't exactly a couple, but we would sometimes two would walk together, sometimes the three of us would walk together. And then I don't know if it was halfway through, after a couple weeks, she hurt her back, and they went home. And so I walked at least the last 2 or 3 weeks by myself.
But there were always other people that you could have walked with, because there are people on the path all the time. They're on the Camino all the time.
I rarely walked alone, I guess, because I would just, walk with people and start talking to them. There were a couple women that I saw a number of times and walked with. Sure.
You talked a little bit, though, about when you were walking by yourself. You talked about fear and how you had to deal with it. You said, I realized I still felt too tied down, too committed to a schedule, too based in fear. So you really wanted to walk alone so that you wouldn't have to deal with that. You said that you didn't usually start walking until 9 in the morning. You had to have your backpack packed up and downstairs for transport at 8. And you wanted to be in a place where you didn't really have to hurry, or being that committed to being at a certain place at a certain time.
So that's interesting that you bring that up, because that's not really about, I don't know how to say it. It's not about fear of being out in the day. It's about fear of being unscheduled. Right. So this is actually why I want to do yet another Camino.
Tell me.
I've done it. Karen and I were very scheduled and set. The second time I did the long Camino and the short Camino as well, we had our rooms scheduled before we left. We had all of our rooms scheduled. Yeah. I had my pack pickup scheduled the whole time, but that meant that I had to follow their schedule. And then I'd be walking with people. I'd walk with this woman, and she'd say, "Oh, this is a nice place. I think I'll stay here." And I'd be like, "Oh,
I have to keep going."
I have to walk, maybe far, maybe not far, but I have to, because I was too afraid that I couldn't carry my backpack, so I sent it ahead. I was too afraid that I wouldn't get a place to stay, so I already have a reservation. So that fear of being free and being able to trust myself is why I think that I'll go back again and try it again. The thing is I'm not 20 years old. If you get there if you get to the town you want to stay in by 2:00, you can get a room. Mm-hmm. But I frequently go into those places at 4:00 or 5:00, and I might not get a room.
Because you're a slower walker, or you want to look around, or you just want to think more and enjoy it in a different way.
But I also want, like when I scheduled rooms, I scheduled private rooms. Mm-hmm. I actually don't really want to be in a dorm where I'm on the top bunk and with men and women in the same room and snoring and, I don't really want that. So I would have to trust, and I would have to, maybe take longer than 6 weeks if I walk slower. The other thing is I'd have to carry my own backpack, or I have to have it ready for 8:00 every morning. There, it's just a choice. So to carry my own backpack, we were talking earlier about,
how do you pack?
How you prepare. There are a million people talking about this. You can go online and find a million things. They tell you, bring 2 outfits, one to wear and one to carry. And I brought maybe 4.
On your first walk?
On my first walk, I brought maybe 4. And when we were in St. Jean, I mailed my first package back home. I mailed 5 pounds back.
Oh my God.
So they tell you should carry 1/10 of your body weight.
Oh dear.
So I don't.
Okay, we're not going to say exactly what we did.
But say you weighed 150 pounds, you carry 15 pounds. That is not very much. And so I sent 5 pounds home, and then when we got to another town, I sent another 4 pounds home.
So do you really think you'd be able to do this with 2 outfits?
Well, I know.
What about like contact lenses and glasses and all that stuff that you need?
Yeah, well, that you have, you carry that and everything, but Yes, you can do it with 2 outfits. It's not a fashion show.
It's not, definitely. That's right.
That's what Adam kept saying to me. It's not a fashion show.
And everybody kind of looks the same way when they're
Right.
doing this, probably.
You're a mess.
You're a mess.
Kind of a mess, right? And so, but it's fun, and it shouldn't be a burden, right?
I like that idea.
Yeah, what I wear in a day.
Oh.
And basically, I've been through iterations. What I like the most is a skirt. I don't,
a
and
short
it's like a,
skirt, yeah,
a skirt with like biking shorts almost underneath, and you can wash out the inside of
Right.
that and have them be fresh every day.
Yeah,
There's
that's good.
no reason for this to be a problem.
Okay, I will consult with you, even if I'm only going to take a 10-mile hike. I want to find out how to do
Believe
this.
me, every time we travel, I'm taking less and less, and I
less.
still take way too much.
Good thing.
But I'm practicing.
Since we're talking about packing, I want to talk about something. There's so much I want to ask you. We might have to do 2 episodes. You said something when we were talking before. They say that when you pack for this, you pack your fears.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
We read that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on what your fears are. I mean, one example they give is that if you have, if you had shelter issues growing up, some people were homeless when they grew up, or I guess they call it housing insecurity these days, then you probably bring a backpack. You might even bring a tent, which adds a lot of weight.
Yeah.
But you're afraid that you're not going to have a place to stay. I'm
get it.
afraid I won't have a place to stay, and because of that, I reserved my rooms ahead of time. But I wouldn't carry a backpack. Actually, we did carry a backpack.
I mean, you did carry a backpack, yeah, but you probably wouldn't
We
carry
carried
a
light
tent.
ones because in some of the hostels you need them. They don't provide blankets or sheets. So people have their own issues, right? My issue is food.
Oh.
I actually carried extra food. And in the first big town, I guess maybe in Pamplona, Karen and I went to a store, and we bought some peanut butter and some bread. And it was actually in a glass jar of peanut butter.
Yeah.
And I carried that. We ate it probably once or twice. It was afternoon. There didn't seem to be a place around. We'd stop on the side of the road, and we had peanut butter and bread. It was great. And then about a week or 2 weeks later, I'm like, why am I carrying this? I think I'm going to throw it away. And it was in a plastic bag in my backpack. And I pull it out. The glass had broken.
Oh,
it was
dear.
just this blob of glass and peanut butter in my backpack. But I carried it for about a week and a half, because I was afraid
that you
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
have
get food.
You
And-
pack your fears. How about fears of the unknown?
Well, there's...
Did you ever feel that? Like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's ahead. Am I going to be okay?
I told you a little bit about how I grew up, that I don't actually have that fear. Maybe
Oh, yeah,
some
that's
people
right.
some people have it. I don't have that fear. I had a friend once who said, well, I've never driven past the Holyoke Mall. And I'm like, what do you think happens past the Holyoke Mall? I've been past the Holyoke Mall, so I don't have that fear. And I don't know.
Well, you're lucky.
I don't have that fear.
Then you're the right kind of person to do the Camino.
Right. But on the other hand, I do want to say about fears, there were many times when I walked alone. There was only one time when I was afraid. And I was walking along the side of a road, and there was a car parked on the side of the road. And I was going to have to walk past that car. I hadn't seen anybody for a while. It was a pretty deserted place. It wasn't like a highway or anything. And so I thought, well, how am I going to handle this?
Yeah.
And as I got up, I could see there was a man in the car. And so my idea was I was just going to walk out into the road. I was going to give it a very wide berth, and I was going to go around it. And the interesting thing is that there had not been another car passing. A car came as I was walking, and just kind of, he was going alongside of me. And that could have been scary, actually, but it was not scary. It was like I had somebody there
A witness.
to walk by this car. And, I kept looking back I kept looking
Yeah.
back to see if he got out of his car,
Yeah.
if he was turning around or anything. You know, you got to be careful.
You got to be
People
careful
are-
no matter what you do.
Yeah, people can be wacky, but nothing happened.
Well, I'm
and
really
once
glad.
I actually once he never got out of his car, once I got into the woods, I felt fine, and then I was in a place where I actually recognized and started seeing people. It was okay.
Wow, I can just imagine doing that. I understand your fear. I don't know why it's like that, but I think for women it's something very different.
Yeah.
I'm sure if John was doing the walk and there was another guy in a car and he had to pass it, he wouldn't even notice that. So,
Well, you know what? There's actually websites. There's
Mm-hmm.
called a website called Camigas, which is like
Oh,
Camino
Camino
Amigas,
Amigas. Mm-hmm.
and they'll tell you there's places where there are, whatever flashers, sick people, and they talk to each other. They say, if you're here, watch out for this guy.
that's really good to know.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. Well, we're talking about fears, and I don't want listeners to walk away thinking about this kind of thing. So let's talk about that. Why do you think people should do this, especially older adults? I mean, that's a lot of walking, and plus you're taking 6 weeks out of your life. Some people might think, I can't do that. I like my routine. I love my life. Do you think older adults should walk the Camino?
I think that it's worth considering, and I also think that it's worth giving it a try. So one thing is, we met this one woman who worked, and she did the Camino a week at a time.
Oh,
She'd have
yes.
her vacation, she'd come, she'd walk a week, and then she'd go home, and the next year she'd come back and she'd take another 1 week vacation and take that next step of the Camino. So you can do it. There are no rules.
There are no rules.
And you can get your certificate, and you can even get, if you do that long one, you can get a distance certificate. You can get that no matter how long you take. So that's an okay thing. But
But wait a minute. So if you go to Santiago and you walk 100 meters, you can get a certificate?
100 kilometers.
Oh, yeah, 100 kilometers. Oh,
Well,
yeah, I was
if
gonna
you
say.
walk from 100 kilometers into Santiago,
Santiago.
you can get a certificate saying you've walked the Camino de Santiago.
So we're going to be there in May. If I do that, can I get... But
it takes a week.
to do that
100
long?
kilometers. You're going to...
Okay, well, I'm going to rethink this.
Well, you should think about it, and we could talk about it
Okay, we'll talk
afterwards.
about that.
But what I want to say is, not everybody can walk, but a lot of people can walk. If you can walk, it is worth trying. It is just one step after another. You learn about your resilience. You learn about yourself, and there's nothing like seeing a place from the ground.
Oh,
on
it's
your
so
feet.
different, right?
It's so different. I have done some long bicycle touring, and it's so much different than being in a car. You could talk to people, you wave to people, you can touch people, and that's the same thing with the Camino. You're on the ground. You see the trash, you see the beauty, you see the flowers.
right.
The first time we went in May, there were just fields and fields of poppies. It was so
Oh.
beautiful. You're walking through, actually early on, you're in the Rioja wine country. You're walking through wine. It's just beautiful to see.
Up close.
Yes, up close and personal.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. You don't know what's around the next corner. You're walking, you see something ahead. Sometimes you're walking and you can see the road like 10 miles ahead and know that that's where you have to go.
Oh, boy.
You can be in woods and not see anything. You turn a corner and you're in a city. You walk through large cities like León, Astorga, Pamplona is a big city. And yeah, it's where you want to live life, right? Is on the ground.
On the ground. Oh, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
You said it was life-changing in a way, but you also said you think that people should walk it because you learn about yourself. So what did you learn about you?
Well, again, about my fears, about my having reservations for 6 weeks ahead, that's a control issue.
Yeah, that's true. That is.
And trusting that I'll be okay if I don't have a reservation, that I'll be okay if I have to stay in not the optimal room. I'll be okay if I have to, take my sleeping bag and sleep under a tree, under something.
Would you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to read something because we have to wind down now, but I really want you to come back after your next one and we'll do another episode because there's so much more I want to know. Do you mind? I hope you don't mind. I'm going to read something that you wrote to me. You said, I learned I can trust myself and my body. I learned that it's difficult for me to be nice day after day after day unless I have some time to myself. I learned that I can learn and that I can figure out how to do what I set out to do. I learned that I love Spain. I used to be only about Italy, but from the moment I stepped into Spain, I've fallen in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, all true. And of course, learning about myself is the biggest thing. People have different ideas of why we're on the earth. Mm-hmm. And my idea, the way I say it, is that I'm here to learn about myself and my place in this universe. And it's a great teacher in watching how I react. That thing about being nice, it's really hard for me to be on and nice 24/7. I need some downtime. And and then just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and as they say on the Camino, is buen camino, right? It's have a good walk.
Have a good walk.
Which is like have a good life.
You know what? I have more things to ask you, but I think I'd like to end there, Beth, because that's probably something we should all remember.
Buen camino.
Buen camino. Have a good walk. So I'm thinking about something. I want to say goodbye to you now, unless you have other words to say.
I'll leave it at buen camino unless you have a question.
I don't. Not for now. Except, how about if after we say goodbye, you and I go out and have a buen camino? Let's go for a walk.
Let's go for a walk.
Okay?
Sure, let's do that.
I'll talk to you again. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're really brave.
I am.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This concludes today's podcast. We're always looking for new ideas, so feel free to reach out to Judy Raper, Associate Dean of Community Engagement at Greenfield Community College at 413-775-1819 if you have an idea you'd love to share. Special thanks to the creators of Backyard Oasis, Denise Schwartz, Chad Fuller, Dennis Lee, and Christine Copeland. Have a great day.